Affairs, provincial councils and the local governments, all the distinguished participants, invitees, ladies and gentlemen, all the participants from India, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, and all the distinguished invitees. Thank you very much for inviting me, Mr. Kamal, and your team, my friend Mr. Kamal, wonderful person in Sri Lanka who is trying to look after the early childhood development activities in our country. Thank you, Kamal, for inviting me to participate in this wonderful inaugural session of the third day summit. Actually, South Asia International Education Summit 2020 is a wonderful moment in Sri Lanka. I feel, Honorable Minister, I believe that Sri Lanka, this is the high time for us to develop the national policy agenda and the policy framework and the roadmap for enhancing the Sri Lanka situation with this challenging crisis. I like to emphasize something regarding the education of South Asia. The current population in South Asia is around 2 billion. It is equivalent to the 24.9% of the total world population. And also, South Asia is home to 127 million children under 18 years of age. And also, annually, there are about 438,750 infants being added to the Sri Lankan populations annually. Approximately 6% of the population is in the preschool age. I think that you are looking after these 6% of preschool children population in Sri Lanka. At present, there are 12,350 registered preschools in the country. Around 10,000 schools are functioning in Sri Lanka. This time, we must highly concerned about this child population because Sri Lanka is facing the challenging crisis. With this crisis situation, that the preschool education, I don't know whether we can conduct the preschool education without any interruptions. Bangladesh, I have a chat with many Indian officials and the Bangladesh officials who are looking after the preschool education and the primary education of their countries. And Sri Lanka also, all the participants of Sri Lanka, they are clearly looking after the early childhood development activities in our country. So, I feel that the Sri Lanka, not only the Sri Lanka, during the age at 5 years, that the brain of the child is developing at the age of 5. 80% of the brain has developing at the age of 5. So we are looking after that age. 80% of the brain is developing at the age of 5, that means the early childhood development period. That early childhood development and caring of those children are very important if we want to develop the quality human resources for the country's future. So many of the developed countries, I have so many experiences in Japan. That Japan, you talk about Japan, how the Japan is overcome with the Second World War situation. Actually, I have 3 years experience in working with Japan, that Asian Productivity Organization, I was there. So during my stay there, I saw that how the Japanese government looking after the children of Japan. And they are always trying to invest the future human development. And they are always concerned in the early childhood development and caring for the preschool. They invest 10% of their GDP for developing the education, especially for developing the early childhood. In Sri Lanka, we are highly concerned on developing the primary education. So, as the Minister of Education, you concern much on developing the primary education and higher education and the secondary education of Sri Lanka. That around 10,000 schools in Sri Lanka, the child populations, our quality of the education is very high. The primary education and the higher education and vocational education quality is very high in Sri Lanka. Our literacy is 94%. It is very high. But at the age of 5, that how children are becoming qualitative. that how we want to develop the qualitative education in the preschool. Actually, in Sri Lanka, there are around 12,500 preschool. But my question, sir, are we concerning to develop the quality of those preschool curriculum? Who will develop the quality of these preschool teachers in Sri Lanka? Many of the private sector organizations, they are highly concerned to maintaining the preschool centers, preschool education centers. But the government, that we are not concerned much on educating and developing the preschool teachers. Now these days, as the senior public officials are also engaging with the team of our Sri Lanka Administrative Service senior officials. We are developing the national policy framework and roadmap for enhancing the Sri Lanka situations from 2022 to 2025. So at that policy framework, we are highly concerning on HR development and manpower development for Sri Lankan future. It is very important for us to develop the manpower planning sessions for future education investment. Then one of my friends here, he told that the chairman of the NITA, he talked about HR development of the government officers. Many of the government sector organizations in Sri Lanka, I know that the Bangladesh and India also the bureaucratic countries same as Sri Lanka. All the bureaucratic countries in like Sri Lanka, we are concerned much of keeping the, personal development, personal development activities you mentioned. Personal development divisions we are running in the government organization. Actually, as you mentioned, I'm also highly concerned to develop the HR development divisions in the public sector organization. We want to develop the human resources for future, not managing the personal activities instead of developing the HR activities in the Sri Lankan government. Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, I have so many experiences in working with the two countries. Because when I work in Asian Productivity Organization, there were 20 member countries and 13 non-member countries. Bangladesh and India also the member of Asian Productivity Organization. So your countries are working very closely with Asian Productivity Organization as well as Sri Lankan Public Sector Productivity Movement. Sir, during my stay in Sri Lankan Productivity Secretariat in 2010 to 2013 and 2016 to 2017, I developed the curriculums and productivity enhancement program for developing the preschool education. This productivity roadmap I developed after I came to Sri Lanka. This productivity roadmap I developed for 2022 to 2025. With this productivity development roadmap, we highly concerned on the education sector. In the education sector also we concern more on preschool education. Actually, preschool education must concern to develop the quality children. We also know that you all talk about that Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Among the Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 4 is concerning more on ensuring the quality and equal education for all. Under this Sustainable Development Agenda, all our UN countries are adapting to achieve this Sustainable Development targets. Under this Sustainable Development targets, we have to concern much on primary education and also the early childhood development and higher education and vocational education. In Sri Lanka, we want to concern more on adopting this Sustainable Development Agenda, especially for this goal to the goal 4. And we think with this situation, actually last night also, we had a very big discussion, sir, to look after the preschool and the primary schools with this crisis in Sri Lanka. Many of the vulnerable groups in Sri Lankan crisis is the children. Children, especially the primary education, higher education, secondary education and the preschool children are highly affected with this situation. So the parents, they have so many issues. They don't have the time to look after the children. And also preschool teachers, I don't know whether they are paying by the government. They are earning money by conducting preschool education centers. But they are not highly paid. But some developed countries, they are highly paid. Those government are highly paid to look after the preschool children, to the preschool teachers. They are concerned to ensure the quality of preschool in their countries. In Australia, I know that the universities, that the Australian government is selecting and recruiting the preschool teachers who got highest research in the universities of Australia. But in Sri Lanka, which kind of teachers we are hiring? That all teachers, are they completing the degrees? Are they completing their higher educations in the universities? But I know that Mr. Kamal, my friend Mr. Kamal, he is conducting to enhance many programs to enhance the preschool education, and he is conducting many diploma courses to develop the preschool teachers. So I highly concerned as the senior minister of Sri Lankan cabinet, I feel and I request and I beg you to consider more on this preschool education in Sri Lanka. Actually, under the education national policy framework and agenda, that the reform agenda, that the public sector senior officials, we have requested the government to concern more on developing the preschool, early childhood development and preschool education in Sri Lanka. We can get more experiences from India, sir. We can get more experiences from other developed countries as well as our own neighbor countries. We can get experience. We can share experiences. We can benchmark the best practices of your countries. You also can benchmark the best practices in Sri Lanka in the private education sector. And now this is the best time for us to develop and reform the curriculum of primary school education and the secondary school education also. And there is a big mismatching between the job market and the higher education system in Sri Lanka. The youth unemployment among the educated youth is very high. Unemployment among the youth educated in Sri Lanka is very high. It is around 24%. But what is the problem then? Because the skill mismatching, big skill mismatching is there in the job market and the education system. That also we want to consider with the higher education sector. So I'm not taking much time from this summit because all the people today, you are very excited to complete this very valuable workshop, and I feel that you can get many outcomes and you can get so many good results by winding up this very good international conferences. In future, we hope to share all the experiences. Today, I feel that all the participants from Bangladesh and India are here, but in 2023, we can participate with all the countries and we can conduct very big summit in Sri Lanka or other countries. And I hope our Mr. Kamal and his institutions, I wish Kamal, I highly appreciate your effort in developing the policy framework, and also I request you to attempt to develop the preschool policy framework with us. I invited you, you can join us, and also our Bangladesh and Indian participants, you can share your experiences and ideas with us to develop our preschool agendas in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much. I wish all the best, all the good wishes. I wish good wishes. Sorry. I wish all the success of this summit and have a safe journey back to your countries. Thank you, sir, for spending your time. I request you to look after the preschool education in Sri Lanka as the senior. Thank you.